Welcome back to the news.
Welcome back to Alephium Aware episode number 3. Alephium Aware, the premise for those who are new here is to find two storylines that both point back to Alephium from kind of the recent news, what's been going on in the industry. So yeah, we have two stories. We have a privacy chain with a big bug and a market that's buying into the FUD. Today's first narrative is about Zcash and the test that every chain faces at some time or another. It is a bit of an eventuality these days, especially with AI. So cast your mind back, not too long, back to May 29th. Now there was a security researcher named Tyler Hornby, and they were doing a routine protocol audit on Zcash. I'm sure you know Zcash, ZEC, and he finds something quite serious. Some would call this a critical vulnerability in Zcash's Orchard shielding pool. That is their flagship zero-knowledge privacy layer, by the way, so this is a really important discovery. Now, this bug had been sitting there undetected for 4 years, since May 2022. 4 years on a very big, well-funded, major, heavily audited privacy chain. So quite a surprise that someone with really good AI tools is able to find a bug. Now, in theory, this bug would have allowed a successful attacker, i.e. someone who discovered this bug earlier and decided to exploit it, to create an unlimited amount of counterfeit Zcash, ZEC. They would have been able to do that undetectably and untraceably, and because of how Zcash is designed, we will never know, or we may never know, can't be too sure, whether somebody actually did an exploit or not. We are left with a mystery. Here's the detail that I find really interesting amid this story. It was discovered with AI just by one guy using Claude Opus 4.8. Now that's a publicly accessible model. You can go and use that right now. I think it's $20 a month to get access to it with a decent amount of credits to do something meaningful. Where we're at, and we wrote about this recently, or Pavel did on the Alephium news page, is that the same tools that are being used to secure protocols and their code are the same ones that are being used to exploit them and take them down. Tech and cybersecurity have always had this cat and mouse game, but right now there's a kind of level playing field when it comes to the AI tools. Anyone can be a good guy or a bad guy. It's all about how you use the tools. What happened next? Immediately, there was a private disclosure to the Zcash development team. Then on June the 2nd, Zcash enacted a emergency soft fork, and all Orchard transactions were temporarily disabled. The very next day, on June the 3rd, they implemented a hard fork, and Orchard was re-enabled with the corrected circuit. Allegedly, no funds were lost. So yeah, Zcash crashed somewhere between 38 and 50% over the next 48 hours. Arthur Hayes, who's the co-founder of BitMEX, was someone who in the past has been pretty pro-Zcash, pro-privacy, publicly exited his position, and loads of people followed because that's important noise when the co-founder of a major exchange does that. That fear led to a lot of FUD, and the FUD led to a lot of damage. The damage was done. Or was it? The story takes an interesting twist here because what came next is something that surprised me and gives me hope and optimism. The hash rate on Zcash hit a new all-time high following the fix. After everything that happened, the community did not scatter. It doubled down, it came together, and it contributed even more. I like that. That's important to us. That leads me on to my final point for this narrative. Their story rhymes with ours. Every serious chain eventually, at some point, faces a serious test, and not every chain is able to overcome that test and become stronger as a result of it. But I think we might just be. The point of this is that how a team responds to adversity and under attack, and how it communicates the path forward, is perhaps one of the strongest tests in the crypto Web3 blockchain industry in 2026, because as we know, this has been a brutal year for chains and protocols who are basically under siege from attackers, hackers, cyber criminals and their tools. Now, my next narrative, why I think fear is exactly when you should be paying attention the most. And it always makes me think of that Warren Buffett quote, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It's something like, be greedy when people are fearful, and be fearful when people are greedy. Last month, we saw Bitcoin drop about 12-14% between like mid-May and the start of June, and then on the 1st of June an even bigger dip began, so it went like that, and on the 6th of June we broke the $60,000 level and it hit $59,300. And it's important that we kind of highlight this, because at the same time spot ETFs outflows ran outflows for 13 consecutive days. Now, it was only 2 episodes ago where I was talking about how Bitcoin ETF inflows had a record 8-day run. Can't believe how fast things change. Actually, I can believe how fast things change because I've been in this industry for far too long. Some of you who are watching, who follow the news, will know exactly what I'm talking about and why something happened on the 1st of June to cause this dip. And you probably didn't see it in the news, but saw the poly market scandal where a market closed with an incorrect outcome. Basically, the question was, will MicroStrategy sell Bitcoin by the end of May 2026? And they did, but they didn't disclose it until the 1st of June. So this caused the dip. It also caused the market to end with a debatable outcome. 32, that's absolutely nothing. They have 843,000 Bitcoin. Now, they sold those 32 at a $77,100 average before the market dipped as a result, because when strategy sells, people want to follow suit. The headlines, of course, they had an absolute field day. You know, they said even Michael Saylor is selling. To Strategy's credit, a few days later, they turned around and bought 1,550 Bitcoin at about $65,500 each. My point is, the fear had already done its work. That is how sentiment operates. You can have all the charts, all the analysis, all of the research, you can know about Bollinger Bands and all of this stuff, but really, you need to know about fear phases and how market psychology works. Historically, market bottoms are one of the highest conviction windows for finding undervalued, under-the-radar projects. When sentiment is absolutely in despair, attention collapses around large caps. Low market cap projects, even ones like Alephium, with really good, really strong technology, tend to suffer in these times. So the real teams with real good on-chain activity, they get sold off with the rest. People just dump their bags. Now, some people call this a normal market consolidation. It's a way to filter out weak projects from the market. But during this process, the fundamentals don't actually change. My question would be, what might a low cap project worth paying attention to actually look like in this environment right now? Active development, audited code, real user metrics, and a team that, when things go wrong, stands in front of the chain, defends it. Do you see where I'm going with this? If you do look at these two stories, they kind of point to the same thing. Projects with real foundations, real teams, and strong tech will survive, they will rebuild, and they can use that as a launchpad to do even greater things. While at the same time, fear can actually create a kind of perfect environment or ideal conditions for a very successful next chapter. And I believe that right now, Alephium's next chapter is being written. That's episode 3. And if there's any particular stories that you really like and you think I should cover in this series, please don't be afraid to drop us a DM or leave a comment. I'm always happy to get community feedback and inclusion for these videos, so if you have something constructive to say, please do. See you in 2 weeks.